people out there in Qatar and abroad, wherever you are. But that kind of rhymed too. That's like Qatar, wherever you are. All right, cool. You already know what it is. We're doing it effortlessly. You know what I mean? But it's your boys, the Expat Bros. Well, expat, I guess it's your men, the expat bros. We're kind of not boys anymore, you know what I'm saying? But you know the vernacular, you know what it is. It's my man AB, half of the guest. AB, let them know what it is for you, man. What's going on with you?
Assalamu alaikum. First of all, let me return your wa alaikum salam for those who
Thank you,
don't
brother.
don't know the return. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, back to another fire episode from your boys, Expat
Oh yeah.
Boys
Oh
or
yeah.
Expat Bros. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We're here to drop some gems, drop some facts, drop some feelings, and
Mm-hmm.
obviously show some love. So make sure
Yeah.
you subscribe, make sure you follow, make sure you engage, make sure you like,
Mm-hmm.
because everything you do, we appreciate it, no matter how small it is. So let's have an amazing episode this time.
Definitely, definitely.
Let's
And
get
just
it.
like Biggie said about I'm gonna remix it, right? Like the late great Big said, show love is the Muslim way. You know what I'm saying? So we're gonna show love. So if that's how you show it, show us love through the likes, through the
I,
comments, through
I
subscribing
like
and sharing.
I like that little remix. That little you gave a
Yeah.
little bit of harakat.
A little something, man. Just a little bit, you know what I mean? But yeah, man, thanks AB for letting the people know about that because I will forget. I'll just keep going and going and going, right? So I appreciate that plug in. And this is our 5th episode, right? So we moving right along. It's crazy. How's
Alhamdulillah.
that feel, man, to have 5 episodes, AB? Inshallah.
You know
How's
what's
that feel?
what's crazy? Every milestone, no matter how big it is, no matter how small it is, regardless, it's still a milestone. So we need to celebrate no matter what, because a year from now we're going to be talking about, hey, remember our 5th episode? Remember our first episode? So they say the years are short, but the days are long. So
Mm.
we're going to look back at this and be like, yeah, man, we did something. Alhamdulillah,
Yeah.
always.
Alhamdulillah. Yes. Yes. By the grace of God, right? Just able to do it. And if you check our YouTube page out, I mean, we have tons of micro videos as well. So we chop up the questions and we
Yeah.
put those questions, the major ones that me and AB talk about, and we chop them up and you can take a look at it. So if you don't want to do an hour-long session, go ahead and do 20 minutes, 15 minutes. We even have 5 and 10-minute videos as well, so you can chop it up. And we have shorts, right? We have Instagram Reels. So there's a lot of ways to check us out on a micro level, moving up to the long form content. So just give us a shout and definitely share if you feel like this is something that won't compare. You dig? You know what I'm saying? I'm with the
Let's get
bars
it.
today, man. Don't play with me, man. With the bars.
Ooh,
you
this guy
know?
out here.
Yeah. And this is
Let's
a
get it.
message for you, AB. Just so you know, I'm struggle streaming in the back right now. So your videos looking kind of laggy, you know what I mean? So if I don't catch your
Mm,
cues, I'm gonna hear your voice, you know what I mean?
I got
So
you. I got
just
you.
letting you know, struggle streaming back here. I don't know what's going
Don't
on, but it's gonna
don't
show
worry,
right
bro.
on the screen, inshallah. So
Inshallah.
yes. So today, we have a couple of topics. The title of the show is called Potential. And so hopefully you'll see with the titles, plus look at the thumbnails, you'll see why we're calling it Potential. I think you'll check it out and see why. And so let's go over the itinerary, all right? So as I always say, without further ado, let's do what we came here to do. You dig? Let's go, all right?
Let's
So the
get it.
first topic on the itinerary, before we go into the things, I'm gonna go down the itinerary first. All right, then we're gonna go into the questions. So first topic, Latinos and the Japanese people are converting to Islam or reverting to Islam at a record pace. Why is that? How does it feel to have people who are not necessarily known to be Muslims now becoming Muslims? So we'll talk about that phenomenon that's happening now, alhamdulillah. So the second thing that we'll talk about. This is really important, especially for my brother AB. I really want to hear what he's going to say. So I came across an article and a YouTube video about why Gen Z and Gen Alpha are making teachers quit and why there's a teacher shortage in America, Canada, other places like that. So let's talk about that. And AB has definitely a expert perspective on this. I think the other question for number 3, this is a fun one and an open-ended one for real. As you get older, what are the things that you are prioritizing the most? So your 20-year-old self is not your 40-year-old self. It's not your 30-year-old self, and definitely ain't your 10-year-old self, right? So as you get older, what are some things that are top on your list to make sure you prioritize first before anything else? All right. So that's the thing. And number four, this is the best one that we know and the topic that we don't need any books for. If anyone was coming to Qatar and wanted to be an expat, what can we tell them? What advice can we spread? So that's going to be a really great one as well for all you people who are looking into Qatar after the World Cup, after the Asian Cup. You're looking into just the beauty of it. You see all the ads, commercials in the UK and US and Canada. What about Qatar? Why should you come here? So did I get it right, AB? Is that all the things on the list today?
Bro, I didn't know you're out here giving out like a buffet like that, man. The information is it's crazy today. It's fire. You know what I'm saying? So without further ado, what are we waiting for?
Yeah, I mean, let's just jump right in. I mean, forget all that. Let's jump right in.
Let's just dive in right now.
Yeah, dive in like Michael Phelps. You dig? You know what I'm saying? So, first topic: Latinos and also the Japanese people. They are converting to Islam at a record pace. Now, I am not Stat Baby from the podcast Come and Talk to Me, right? Shout out to Mace Cameron, Stat Baby. But I do have some stats in front of me. So I'm definitely going to read off some stats before I start with my premise on it, right? So just for some context, if we look at Latinos, by the Pew Research Center, right? This is their data. Said approximately 265,000 people in the U.S. are Muslims that are Latino, right? Latino is ethnicity, okay? So it can comprise of many different nations. So that's the first thing, 265,000 in the U.S. The majority of the converts for Latinos are women. And if we know that women are the backbone of our household and community, that has a large effect on what the family is going to do as well. So that's interesting to look at as well. And then when asked about why many people are actually converting to Islam, it all varies, right, from person to person. But what is being said is that people are feeling like they can reclaim their historical, heritage or right to how it used to be in Spain. How the Moors used to rule over Spain. And in Europe, there were Muslims there for, I think, at least 8 centuries, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure. Yep. You can fact check me. Right? AB, am I right? I don't know if it's 8 centuries.
You're right.
8 centuries, yeah.
Thank you. The Muslims ruled at Andalus. You're right.
Yes, Alhamdulillah. Yes. So this is really good information. So a lot of people feel like they can reclaim and tap back into, those times. And so that made them curious of it. And they look back and say, you know what, I'm going to convert away from Catholicism. Right. And so that's something to think about as well. And in my personal view, I know in the U.S., a lot of the Latino Muslims come from New Jersey, New York, Florida, Illinois. And I know a couple of people that converted. They were of Dominican ethnicity. All right. So that personally, I know that. And everybody's reasons are varied. Now let's go to the Japanese. Okay. Let's set up that context. So from 2019 now, the religion, I think, is estimated to have grown 110%, right, in Japan. So that's a pretty large number, right? So that's a really good jump, really good statistics. What else can we see? The first mosque in Japan was actually built in 1935. The Kobe Mosque, I think. I think it was Kobe Mosque. And it's not after Kobe Bryant, rest in peace, you know what I mean? But the Kobe Mosque. So 1935. Half of the Muslims that are Japanese that have converted are of Malaysian descent, Indonesian descent, and also Filipino descent. That's another key thing to recognize as well. And then the number of mosques have grown in the past 20 years. They went from 24, 2001, to 110 present day or even more, right? So Alhamdulillah. So those are some of the background and facts on this case. Just to change up the voice and tonation a little bit, AB, what do you think about those statistics? And what is your personal feeling on this miraculous growth, subhanAllah?
First and foremost, mashallah, I expect this. Islam is one of the fastest growing religions on the planet. In terms of these stats, it's a given, especially us being Muslims. We are the flavor of the month, basically. So you know what I'm saying? Like we are in the media left and right. Doesn't matter where you're from, where you grew up. Everyone's talking about Muslims. So there's a reason why we're a hot topic, hot discussion. Now, in terms of personal feelings, number one, I'm gonna keep it a buck. You know what I'm saying? Like, Allah is the
You
greatest
should.
planner. Allah is the greatest planner of all planners. You know, so everything that's gonna happen will happen. Everything that's not gonna happen will never happen. And how it happened, Allah knows. And if it happens, He knows when it's gonna happen and how it's gonna happen and where it's gonna happen. So regardless, this is planned, divine. What do you call it? Intervention. So basically, now there's an ayah in the Quran. I forgot what surah it was. I forgot, but basically, it's a very beautiful ayah, and it translates to um, that this religion is a gift from Allah. Okay, so this religion is a gift, and if you do not accept it, if you leave, so if you leave the fold of this religion, don't worry, Allah doesn't need you. There's 100 people that will replace you. Okay, so whether and we have, like, as Western Muslims, it's funny because we have these discussions and it's like, oh my God, brother, like you have to shave your beard, otherwise you can't hold your job. And it's like, no, like the beard is a symbol of the religion. You know what I'm saying? Or sisters feel like they can't wear their hijabs. Like obviously the hijab is like a very touchy topic for the sisters. It's their choice. I'm not gonna get into it. But it's, at the end of the day, you're wearing the hijab for Allah, or you have a beard for Allah. So that discussion is between you and your creator. Now, if you don't want to do something that has been decreed upon you, don't worry, because there's 100 people behind you that will easily replace you. You know? So this religion is a gift. It doesn't need you. You need it. You feel me? And
Absolutely.
and so when you see these people who are reverting back to Islam, it's, you can see it. It's they want it. It's the hunger. It's that they found the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. They found the treasure. They've, so
SubhanAllah.
that's why if you, you and I had this talk before. Why does it feel like reverts appreciate the religion more than people who were born
Hmm.
into the religion? Like, why does it feel like that? Why do people who were born into religion, they go through a period and then they circle back and then they start appreciating the religion? Like, so why is there a delay? So what is it that we're not seeing? Like, so that would be a good topic to study, and I would love to understand. But it's human beings. So number one, that ayah is full proof that if you don't um, hold this religion with both hands and protect it, don't worry. There's people going to be after you immediately that will carry this religion on their shoulders, and with genuine love and authentic appreciation. Now, you mentioned a point pretty earlier. You said the biggest the biggest number of people who are what do you call it, converting back to Islam is females. It's women, right? It's girls,
For Latino community,
and
yes.
Latino community.
Communities. Hmm.
And you said something that the backbone of society is families, right? So we've deviated, like the family, the nucleus family. So the family unit is the most important unit in any society, because a society is basically a bunch of micro units of families comprised together, making a community, and then that community expands into a society.
Bingo.
Now, that's basically what it is. If you were to rip the meats and leave the bones, that's what you have. So what is it that's making these women convert? What are they gravitating towards? What's resonating with them? And Islam, contrary to popular belief that people want you to believe, um, it actually, what do you call it? It brings up women. Like it
Hmm.
champions females. It does all these things. and they see it and they understand it because their culture also is very similar, like very feminine, very very motherly, and it allows both roles to cooperate. It allows both people to take care of the end goal, which is what? Raise a family for the sake of Allah, the Creator. You know, and that's how I see it. To me, these numbers are not surprising to me, because it goes back to the roots and the morals of human nature. You know, like what are we? What is our purpose besides procreating? You know, what's our purpose? Our purpose is to have faith, to see a higher being, to worship a higher being. And whether people or the media say otherwise, they're lying to themselves, because you have to, if you're, whether you're worshiping a deity or you're worshiping money, human beings are put on this planet to have a purpose, and best believe, like, if it's not a deity, if it's not Allah, it's not it, you know. And Islam is the answer, and these people, so they found it and they appreciate it. It's that simple.
Yeah, yeah. I think you made a great point when you're breaking down just how important families are to actually making communities. This is the essence. You know, I remember someone asked me in a conversation one time, AB, they said, what's the cure of, helping the black community? Like, there's no cure, there's no magic
Ooh,
pill. But what I would say is that if every individual family focuses on themselves, by
bingo.
default, they'll build the community up better.
Yes, yes,
And
yes.
so once you just focus on your wife, your kids, your parents, and from the nuclear to the extended, right? Then we build those individuals, right? And the base of that is correct. And then if everyone else is doing that, you'll see a much better community.
You know,
Sometimes I feel like in the Black America, for example, there is a messianic approach where if Malcolm X is not here, how do we mobilize? If Martin
yes.
Luther King is not here, how do we mobilize? And that's not the case. You know, we should be looking at Allah, at our God, and we should also be looking into our family and saying, what can I do for my family to be the best man, to be the best leader? The wife should be asking herself about her role. The kids should be asking themselves the same thing about their role, and then everything else will take care of itself.
I was
Yeah.
reading the story of the Prophet recently, right? So I started a book called, I think I told you, Mercy to Humanity,
Yes, she did.
and
Yeah.
it basically chronicles the Prophet's upbringing, his whole life from when he was a child, sorry, before he was conceived, so his family, his parents, up until the point he was conceived, how he was raised, where he was raised, when he got the revelation, when he was giving da'wah, when he moved to Medina, all these chronological, what do you call it, moments, right? And you mentioned something very, very important right now, right? So there's an Arabic word called tawwakul, right? Tawwakul. So having your undying trust in Allah, right?
Hmm.
And um, the Prophet had one of the hardest upbringings ever. You know what I'm saying? He had Sallallahu, he had one of the hardest upbringings ever, where in a span of like a couple of years, his father died before he was born, his
Hmm.
mother dies, his grandfather dies, and then eventually his uncle dies, right? So and his uncle was the last form of protection, and then even his wife dies as well. So Khadija, and and this is a lesson in the sense that um, Allah was trying, because in the book it said it, and it really hit me, because we as humans, we go through dark times. We go through so many dark times, whether it's the loss of a parents, or it's the bankruptcy, or it's divorce, or whatever it is. We go. This is the life. Life is an experience. You know, life
Right.
is an experience. So there's dark times. There's good times, and it's trials and tribulations. But Allah, the author said, these times, Allah was trying to teach the Prophet ﷺ. This is the Prophet, by the way. This is the Prophet, the most
Hmm.
beloved person to Allah, right?
Hmm.
Uh, and he was teaching the Prophet that your only dependency is me, no one else.
Mm.
So
Subhanallah.
so there's nothing on this planet that you should be dependent on except for myself. Sorry, except for Allah, you know? And it shows you, and imagine, bro, this is the Prophet. Like who are we, bro? You know, who are we? So it's, and when I read that, I had to read it a couple, like at least 4 or 5 times to actually deep the meaning. And I'm like, man, like when I was going through XYZ moment, did I really like just submit completely to Allah and accept things and fully believe that Allah can only get me out of this situation? Did I truly believe that? Like, did I really commit to that thought? And then if you really think about it, it's like, nah, bro, like you still you didn't, because human beings, it's such a abstract thought if you really deep it, you know. So
Yeah.
and this is a lesson, bro. So the Prophet, like going through all these deaths, uh and losing all his protection, you know, like losing your mother, losing your father before you were born, losing your grandfather who is the tribe leader, losing what do you call it, your uncle, your last form of defense, uh when you've gotten the revelation, losing your wife, you know, there's so many. If you really peel the onion, there's so many layers, and it's multifaceted. So subhanallah, man, like it's a very, and there's so many lessons that we can take from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that we can apply to our lives, because we think, we think as humans we're so like untouchable and invincible, but subhanallah, it's
Yes.
funny.
You know, it's remarkable. We can pull up a question like this, have a conversation, and even though we are the tangent kings, it's still relating to this actual subject, because early in those times of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, on those
So
times everyone was a convert.
yeah.
You know, this is something that was not experience that you were going through by yourself. And I think when you're looking at the Latinos now, and then also the Japanese people, um, luckily, subhanAllah, they have a community that they can tap into that's growing, and they can go into and learn a lot more about the religion.
True.
Because in the earlier times, like I said, and maybe you were the one of the first, but as it's growing and as it's, peaking, you're only going to get it to be more stronger, especially with what's going on in the world today at this moment.
Mm.
People are going to really be peering into what's happening over there in the Middle East and what's happening in Palestine, what's happening all over the world, in China, right, which is close to Japan, what's happening with the Rohingya Muslims and everywhere else. You're going to see these things, and people are going to be thinking to themselves, well, where do I stand in this, place of history?
Mm.
For me, it was Malcolm X. And my identity before I was Muslim was a black man. And I was like, this man was so convinced after Hajj, that he said, I have to be a Sunni Muslim. This is where it is for me. And we all have our moments and our times. And however it comes, whoever brings it, wherever we are, subhanallah, alhamdulillah, for that. However you get to the religion, just bring someone else with you. Let other people know, and let the nur shine off on you, that everybody can say something different about him or her. Wow, you being yourself can bring people to the religion, inshallah. And so
Inshallah.
I just think that this is what I'm seeing now. This is what I'm reading about as well. And me being the revert, as well, I can also understand some of their thought process. For me, I had a community that helped me along. Shout out to the Islamic Center of New York University. Shout out to Imam Khalid Latif for always answering my questions, always being there for me. Shout out to all the families there that helped me answer questions. And I would steal books from you guys and never give them back because I was just voracious with knowledge. Shout out to my barber, Abdul Najjar. Shout out to all these people that helped me through. If I don't name your name, I'm sorry. But you were also part of that journey as well. But it's all about community, and I think that's what we're talking about here today. And inshallah, we'll see hopefully more Latinos and Japanese people convert. And as we said before, you said this in another podcast episode, Islam blooms in hardships.
Facts. Yes.
Islam blooms in every nook and corner and cranny of this planet,
I wanted
right?
sorry, that's the point that I forgot. I wanted to bring that up.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
No, it's quickly. It was so every prophet, whether it's Noah, because Ibrahim came with the religion, but
With the yeah, yes.
every prophet, so it's Noah and so forth. Do you know which people accepted the religion first? Do you know why? I mean, do you know which people?
No, go ahead, tell me.
Actually, it was the people who were the poor people. It was the poor people. It was the people.
Absolutely.
What we would call like now the hood, basically. You know what I'm saying? If
Yes.
you want to keep it 100%, you want to keep it a buck. It's
All day.
basically the poor, the needy. Those people were the ones that were willing to submit. It wasn't the rich, by the way. It wasn't the rich, and the people that gave the most pushback to the prophets was the rich, was the nobles.
Yes, it was.
It was the
Yes.
nobles, and these
Hmm.
people and the nobles, and this is obviously one of the many tactics of shaitan and so forth. And the nobles would say, "Hey, we'll accept your religion, whatever you're trying to preach, we'll accept it. But make sure you get these people that are
Hmm.
currently following you, get them out, okay?" And they wanted to, and obviously, it's called in the deen, in the religion. There's no such thing as classism. There's no elites.
Hmm.
There's no classism. That's actually against the religion. So
Right.
every prophet said, no, like these people, who am I to tell these people to not submit to Allah, to not pray to Allah, to not do XYZ for Allah? And that, and then, it's, if you really look at the history and the seerah of each prophet, like the stories of the prophet, it's the same stories like over and over again. Like it's the same stories. Like it's literally a prophet comes, preaches about the oneness of God, stop worshiping idols. The people in power are doing some kind of sin, whether it's Sodom or Gomorrah, or it's whatever, like it's Qawm Ad or whatever it is. They're doing something,
Mm.
riba or whatever, and then the prophet says, "Don't do this." And the prophet has a very small following of not influential poor people, because the nobles are the ones that are doing all this, and they're partaking in all this, like debauchery or whatever they're doing.
Hmm.
And then they will start saying things like, it goes, all right, cool, we'll follow you, we have to get rid of these people. And the prophet says, no, I'm not gonna do it. And then the next thing goes to what? It goes to, okay, if you're a prophet, then prove that you're a prophet, and what's it called, bring us a miracle. So the prophet is a miracle. Okay, Prophet Musa did it. Every prophet has a miracle, by the way. Every prophet has a miracle.
Hmm.
Then the miracle happens. Then some of these people from the top, they might be swayed, and they'll follow, but majority of them will not follow. Okay. Then they will start saying things like, "Oh, this guy's a magician. This guy's crazy." Then they
Hmm.
start, like, it's the same playbook. It's the same playbook, rinsed and recycled. And then after that, then most likely, once it gets to that point, then one of them, obviously influenced by shaitan, will say, "We have to kill this guy. We have to kill him. We have
Hmm.
to get rid of him. We have to kill him and his followers, whatever it is." And it always happens the same way. It always happens the exact same way.
Well, AB, that's not too far off from where we are now.
You true?
Rich
Right.
people who have power, they do
Yeah.
the same thing. What's the fastest way to discredit you? To say you're crazy,
Bingo.
right?
Bingo.
Oh, this
Bingo.
person's crazy. They don't know what they're talking about. You see what they did the other day,
Yeah.
and things like that. So it's still the same playbook, and it's fascinating how we are in 2024 and we're still talking about the same playbook, right? So interesting. But
Bro,
yeah.
shaitan rinses and recycles. It's nothing new. Uh, we're just living in a time right now where what every prophet was preaching against, we're seeing it
Hmm.
in 4K everywhere in the world now. And it's crazy, because that's where we're at right now as humans.
Yeah. What's the aspect that's higher than 4K? Is it 2180? I don't know.
2180,
Right?
8K.
They
I don't
seen
know,
the
man.
2180
We're
Cyclops
seeing
vision. You
we're
know
seeing
what I
it
mean?
live, live.
What's that surgery you're getting? Yeah, LASIK surgery. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? They got it live and direct. So it's
man.
very clear. Even Stevie Wonder can see it. You know what I'm saying? So it's very clear. Um, this is a great topic, but I'm so happy we get to move on to this next one as well, right? Because this is your wheelhouse, and I
This is
really,
my
really
world.
want to hear from you
It's
on
my
this one.
world.
Yeah, it's definitely your world. Before I transition to the next one, I want to shout out to all the Latinos around the world and the Japanese people, wherever you are, that are thinking about Islam, or the ones who have made the leap and are now practicing the deen. I wish you all luck. It's not luck,
Inshallah.
it's going to be your divine steps, right? But I wish you all the best in that journey. And this is a wonderful deen. This is a wonderful life. If you ever have any questions, please contact us. I'm a revert myself. So I would always be open to talk to people. Love to have those conversations. You get it?
Oh,
Conversations.
okay, I see
Would
you.
love to have that, you know? I didn't steal that though, AB. Actually, I did steal it. It's not me. I didn't create that, AB. That was from my Imam Khalil Latif. He always had the conversations. Every week, he has a gathering where converts can come and talk to Muslims about their experience of Islam and answer any questions they have. So that was from my Imam. He always had the
MashaAllah.
conversations series,
MashaAllah.
So shout out
MashaAllah.
to Imam Khalil Latif. All right. So we're going to move on to the next subject, because our first one is always a long answer. The first question, always.
Always.
So we're always going to be the long one, right? Pause. But the next one is, why Gen Z and Gen Alpha are making teachers quit. This is a phenomenon that's been happening. And my brother AB, his profession is actually a teacher. I also taught as well, but I was smart enough to go on the other side, and I'm in education management. So, but no,
You
all
got out.
jokes
You
aside,
got out while you're
oh,
hot.
I got out while I was hot on the block. You know what I
Oh,
mean? Everybody was making work. I went right around the corner and got out of there. You know what I'm saying? So,
put it
but for
aside.
me, I enjoy what I do. On the other side with marketing, I still work in schools, but do marketing, PR, communications. AB is a certified, highly qualified teacher who teaches Gen Z in, maybe not Gen Alpha yet, right? They're coming, they're
No,
coming.
they're coming. They're coming.
But he teaches Gen Z. So, brother AB, is this cap? Is this facts, or is it a little bit in between? What it is?
It depends on which part of the world you're in, man. Like in the West, there's so many variables and it's multi-layered and faceted that it's hard to give a one answer. Now, the education um, realm is like evolving. It's changing. With so many technology has changed the game. So technology has changed the game, and we're at a point right now where it's very hard to convince kids why they need education, especially higher education. To be honest, it's very hard to convince kids why they need education. Uh, that's the first thing. Number two, the arts education. First of all, let's go back in time. Okay, let's rewind. Okay, what was the point of school? The point of school. Some people say the point of school is to create workers. To create employees. Okay. If you look at the way the school system is set, and it's still like it's kind of outdated. Actually, not kind of. It is outdated, to be honest. And we are living now. It's the first time where students know more than teachers, or they can know more than teachers. You know what I'm saying? Like they have the ability to know the same knowledge, if not more. So that's the first. That's the first thing. Okay. Now, personally, I think in the West, mainly in the West, because it's not really here. Like it hasn't reached here. It's it's behavior. That's from what I watch these videos. I see it online. I see it on social media. It's the behavior. It's that children are not. I remember growing up. I remember as a kid growing up. If I got a bad mark, it's my fault. Okay, it's my fault. My parents would come down on me. Why'd you get this mark? What was the reason? And if my reason wasn't valid, which is like not always, because technically life's about choices, right? I choose not to study. Like, but now it's the opposite. It's the teacher's fault. You know what I'm saying? Parents come now and they all blame goes towards the teacher, and they come in guns blazing and they say, how's my child, expecting this entitlement behavior and this privileged mindset. And it's kind of scary to be a teacher because you're dealing with all of these issues that you shouldn't be dealing with, because you second guess how to teach, and you second guess like, oh, if I give a hard test, my class average is going to drop. Or there's so many things that you have to think about, to keep in mind. And also, when you raise these kinds of kids or students, when you raise these kids also adapt this privileged mindset, which then makes them entitled, which then also makes it difficult to teach. So the cycle goes, and either the teacher buckles over and they go with the flow, or they do what? They exit, and they have an exit plan. And that's why the quality of teachers has been dropping, or teachers have been burning out. And you see it on the faces, like they're tired. Like, teacher would come with passion, enter the building. I want to do XYZ plan. I want to make a change in these kids' life. Because if you ask a teacher why they started teaching, they always say, I want to make a change in these student lives. Like there's a passion. Every teacher has a fire inside of them. At the end of teaching, that fire is burnt out, man. Like it's gone. It's really gone. Like it's a very it's a and over the years, we've been doing so many other jobs besides teaching. You and I spoke about this. Like, a teacher is a second parent. A teacher is a therapist. A teacher is a nurse. A teacher is a psychologist. A teacher is a social worker. We hold like students, because we spend so much time, like 40 hours a week of our week, we spend with these kids, and we end up, if you are that kind of teacher, you end up building a bond, a connection with these kids, and they divulge information and all these things. And it's heavy, man. Like it weighs on you. It's heavy. So something has to give. So obviously, what gives? Your teaching gives. It gives. It drops. And when that gives, you start losing the happiness of education. And I've always said, personally for me, I love education. I love education. I think education is the foundation and the building block of society. Especially coming from where I come from, as a Somali, as a Somali male, education is very important. I think that is one of the biggest things that can change a nation. Like, it can, because when you have a nation of thinkers, a nation of innovators, a nation of planners, it comes from what? It comes from a teacher that had a vision, and that teacher wasn't seeing their fruits of labor in the first year. No, I'm thinking 10 years from now, these kids that I teach are going to be making big changes. Big plans are coming. And it all starts from someone who's a visionary. And those people are teachers. I don't care what anybody says. Every doctor started from a teacher. Every engineer started from a teacher. Like, it's a teacher. And also, it's also the opposite, by the way. A teacher can also kill dreams.
Facts. If
A
you didn't hear
teacher,
that, say it one more time for the audience or people in the back.
a
Say that one
teacher
more
can,
time, maybe.
a teacher can also kill dreams, man. Like, guidance counselors and teachers can kill dreams. And I've
Why
seen
though?
this
Say why.
because kids, listen, okay? First of all, telling a kid he can't do something and telling a kid that you have to be realistic are two different things. Okay? Two different things. Okay? To operate in the realm of realism, to be realistic, you need to give a child a plan. Every child is a dreamer. Every child has something that they want to accomplish. Obviously, reality states otherwise, because reality has trials and tribulations that come along. But that doesn't mean that they cannot accomplish their dreams. You know what I'm saying? If a child wants to become an astronaut, so be it. Be an astronaut. But just so you know, astronaut has this many schools, this many years in school. You have to have this kind of GPA. You have to do this. You have to go to NASA. You have to give these kids the legitimate pathway. And if they can stay on course, then best believe it, they'll become an astronaut. But don't tell kids they cannot become an astronaut. Don't say no. You're not. It's not for you. How do you know this? You're not. You're not God. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't know. So teachers are the aspiration setters for the child and the inspiration igniters for the child. You know what I'm saying? Because people have to understand the words aspiration and inspiration. You know what I'm saying? So I want to aspire these kids to be greater, but I also want to inspire them to do good as well. You feel me? So
Yeah,
that's
you speaking.
that's the reality, bro. And a lot of dreams die because some teacher told these kids that they can't do it, whether it's based on race, whether it's based on culture, whether it's based on gender, whether it's based on creed. You know, like some teacher are haters. You know, they're just straight up haters.
Yeah, AB reminds me of reading the autobiography of Malcolm X. And his teacher, when he was younger, he was getting great marks. But his teacher said, "You're never going to be a lawyer." I think that's what he aspired to be, a lawyer. The teacher said, "No, that's not going to happen for you." But I think that teacher would never thought that he was going to be Malcolm X, like the person that
Facts.
he was before he passed away. And so we can be dream killers by our tongue, right? And I think it was in one of the hadiths that talk about how the tongue is mightier than anything else, like in terms of how you can bring death to
The
people.
sword. Then the sword.
Mightier than the sword, right? You
Correct.
bring death to people through your tongue and through backbiting, other things of that nature. So you're right. And that's why I wanted you to, yell it to the people in the back who can't hear. Because we don't understand the power and privilege that we have as educators.
Yeah, man.
And what we can aspire and what we can to inspire. You yourself, AB, could be an aspirational image to someone. It could be if I'm a Muslim, I'm a man, I'm Somali, right? Maybe I'm Canadian. You don't know what somebody's looking at you for, and that you're inspiring to be something, or you as yourself as a role model is aspirational. You don't
True.
know. And I really, really enjoy in my job that I'm not a teacher, but when alumni come back in the building, I'm one of the few people that they actually come looking for.
True.
Waiting outside my office to say hello, tap in with Mr. Tyler. How you doing, brother? How's everything? And just sitting there waiting for me. And I'm not a teacher, and I enjoy that so much. One of the most favorite moments of my job. And I'm not in the classroom with them. It's just who I was as a person. I was around them a little bit, spoke to them a little bit, and they still remember what I said 4 years later, 6 years later. It's amazing. I want to tap into a couple things you said. And I want you to think about this. And this is some of the factors that people said have accelerated why teachers are quitting. Number one, they talked about COVID. And I can't say that on YouTube because they'll ban me, but they talked about the vid and the lockdown.
True.
And the effects that had on children. So that's number one. Number two, they spoke about education being outdated, like you said. Are we teaching things that are in an approach in a way that's just not really there and galvanizing the energy of the kids and the attention of the kids, right? So that's number two. Number three, people have said this is a fatherless generation.
Facts.
Are the fathers in the house? Is it a complete household? Are parents distracted? Maybe you do have your parents, but they're working 2-3 jobs, right? So who is parenting and who is watching over and giving guidance to your children? Number three. And number four, and probably the one that we all identify with, social media has exposed everything to children at an earlier age. So as you said, also, they feel like they know more than you sometimes, or they feel like they can challenge you based on what their favorite influencer said, or a YouTuber said, or TikToker said, right? And it's like, no, I don't believe in that. People have different agendas, and they feel like they're part of that agenda. They're part of what that movement is. And that goes counter against what the teacher is saying, or what this book is saying, or what this resource is saying, or things like that. So out of those factors, what do you think is the one that's accelerating everything the most?
Number 3, fatherless
Fatherless
behavior.
generation.
Yes, fatherless behavior.
Ooh,
It's gonna
I
get.
really believe
It's
that too, but I want to hear from you. I really believe that too, but go ahead.
you know what it is, man. As fathers, we have to be. So, my father had 2 rules in our household. Okay, this is my father. Okay, my father had 2 rules in our household. Okay,
Shout out to your father. Shout out to him.
shout out to my pops. And this is raising 5 boys in a Western country. Somali boys, active boys. You know how Somalis are, and his rules were very simple. And I've come to realize that when you raise boys, you have to keep it very simple. Okay, the way my father spoke to us was different than the way he spoke to my sister. So my father kept it very simple. uh in the household stuff, my mom ran it like a ship. Like she was on our ass all the time. She was honest, honest, honest all the time, right? And that's what a mother does. Like my mother, raising 6 kids, like she knew exactly what each one was doing. And this, so she's basically like,
Mashallah.
she's very detailed. My father wasn't at all. My father was a hands-off approach, but he gave us 2 rules. He goes, and he told each of one of us, and it's funny because like now that we're older, we laugh back at it, but there's so much wisdom in it. And the 2 rules were: number 1, don't mess with the deen. Like don't get your deen messed up. Get your deen in order. Okay? Otherwise there'll be problems. Okay? And the number 2 is, don't mess with your education. Keep your education in order. Otherwise you and I will have problems. Okay? And I remember, and I'm like, so obviously as kids, like we obviously we did things. We did things like kids always do things, but there's always a punishment or a repercussion awaiting for us. So my dad was active without being active, because we knew that if we did X, Y, Z, or whatever we did, then my dad's going to be involved. And the role of the father, because the mom is the nurturing, compassionate person that takes care of the kids. The father, obviously, father has compassion, but his more important role is disciplinary. Your father is your disciplinary, uh, especially for boys, because your father has to be active in your life. And education is one of those things where the father has to be involved. Not involved for every little thing. How's your quiz? How's this? No, he looks at the overall greater picture, because there's sometimes where my mom pressed me, but my dad never pressed me. My dad waited for the bigger picture, and if the bigger picture wasn't adding up, then he comes and gets involved into the to whatever was happening. So he was more looking at the bigger image, and my mother was more so focused on the small things and all these things, and that was her role. Now, in today's kids, there's many things. There's broken families. There's two-parent households that both parents are working. Uh, so the kids basically doing whatever they want. And obviously, kids are kids. Like, how do we expect kids to know what's wrong, what's right when they're still young? There's 20-year-olds that don't know what's wrong, what's right. There's 30-year-olds that don't know what's wrong, what's right. So how are we to assume that kids can that they can discern what's wrong and what's right? It's not happening. So number 3 to me is the biggest pivotal reason of fatherless absentee, neglect, and in order to correct not only the school systems and all these things, but there's other, and it goes back to what? It goes back to behavior. It goes back to behavior, man.
You said that before too, the behavior,
It goes
yes.
behavior. A lot of the issues that teachers are dealing with, and I can vouch for any teacher. A lot of the issues that teachers are dealing with is behavioral issues. That's it. If I'm teaching a 45-minute, 50-minute lesson, and 25 minutes goes to me doing classroom management, what really am I teaching, to be honest?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It's behavior. It's literally that. If I have a well-behaved class, or even like I have a well-behaved, like let's say a good behaved, fair behaved class, right? I can even handle 30 kids in a classroom. But the thing is, when you have 30 kids and there's behavioral issues, you are doing damage control. You're putting out fires.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
when you put out fires, that requires energy. Energy takes away from your time. Your time is removed from your lesson. Do you see it? Do you see how the
Yeah.
equation flows?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's it. And
Yeah.
if you have these children who are aware of the consequences and their fathers in their lives, and they know what's going to happen if their father is involved. Like for me, like I remember if I knew if I was if I was messing around, if I was in the office, if I was my dad knew like this, man. Like he knew that the minute I'm in trouble, my dad knew, and I knew what was waiting for me at home. The
Yeah.
fear slash respect that I had for my father was what kept me in line. And we know how boys are. We're not lying to ourselves.
Yes.
We know
Yes.
we know how boys are, man. Like it's boys know how to push the barrier. They know how to they're frequent line steppers, you know? It's true.
Habitual line steppers.
Habitual line steppers, man. We
Yeah.
know how boys are.
Habitual line
We're not
stepping. Yeah.
I don't know when we became I don't know when as a society we started lying to ourselves because we know how boys are, you know?
Yeah. Speaking of that, there's a study that I saw about how boys, as they're growing up and maturing, going through puberty, they have more testosterone.
Mm.
And so it's harder for a kid who's growing up like a boy to sit down in his seat more than it is for
Yes.
maybe a younger lady to sit down in her seat, at a certain age. And so are we really benefiting kids by, like, especially young boys, by having them sit down in a 45-minute lesson just taking notes?
Oh, we're not.
Versus actually being active, being tactile, hands-on more, so they can get around and engage and work with people and actually get out some of that testosterone in their body. This is what I've read. I'm not a doctor, nor would I profess to be one, but I thought that was interesting in terms of how we actually look at educating our young boys, for example. Um, just to speak to your point, I do believe in the fatherless generation as well. Even if the father is actually home, it could still be fatherless. The
Mm.
best availability, the best ability is availability.
Correct.
And the thing is like you can have a father who works, mom who works, but sometimes they may not be home to actually work with you and build you and to listen to you. And that may not be a thing that's on purpose, but it's just something that's the nature of the outcome. And I'm just very blessed to have two fathers when I grew up. I had my biological father for a long time, even though he did not live in the same house. And then I had my stepfather. And I don't know what my world would be and what kind of man I would be if I didn't have my stepfather. I knew
Mm.
him since I was 3 years old.
Mm.
And he came into a situation with myself, my mom, and my brother, and he set the tone right away. And not in a mean way, just made me think more cerebrally about who I am as a person and what I am and what I want to do and what kind of standards we have as a family. And those are just basic things. He's the first one to put a basketball in my hand. He's the one that talked to me about being in a suburban area, but also thinking urban because
Mm.
he's from Newark, New Jersey. He was the one that set the tone with my mother in terms of her role and what we should be doing in the household and what he should be doing in the household and how they come together to nurture and develop us as a team. If he wasn't around, I don't know what I would do because I have my mind of my own, and boys are hard, to really, really teach and to really get under control. And my father, even though he wasn't there, he had another family, right? And he got remarried and things like that. Shout out to my baby sister and my stepmother. He talked to me about the rough side of life, about gangsters, the hoods, just people not caring, going through life, forget everybody, like the stuff that like didn't really require a lot of thinking, but you just had to plod through. And he was the one that gave me the realness, the realistic perspective of what life is. No one cares about you. Only people
Mm.
who care is your family, your parents, like little things like that. And I'm very grateful for the father I had in my life. And so a mother can't be a father and a father can't be a mother.
Facts. Say it again. One more time.
I'm going to say it again for the people in the back who couldn't hear me, even though I got a
Facts.
loud voice. A mother can't be a father and a father can't be a mother. So we really need to work together, but we need fathers to be fathers. And we need them to be available. You don't have to be the smartest father. You don't got to make the most money, but you need to be available. And I guarantee you, if you're available, your kids are going to remember. They're not going to remember that 55-inch TV in the living room. They're not going to remember that Audi car that you guys drove in. But they'll remember that field trip that you went on. They'll remember that first time they got hit in their face and you were there to help them box. They're going to remember the time where you put money into their bank account when they were broke in college. They'll remember that.
You know,
And so I think
there's a
that's where we
saying.
need to be, the more guidance, you know.
You
So
know, there's a saying, and I'm gonna end it the same this topic
no
with the
doubt.
saying. It's a very important saying. It's a very important expression. They say that people will forget the things you do for them, but they'll never forget how you made them feel.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm
Yes,
saying?
sir. Yes. And I think we can end it there like that. I
Facts.
think you hit the nail on the head like that. And that is the end of this topic. I really appreciate your insight, AB. You really set it
Wow.
off nicely when it comes to this. And I really think people need to hear this, especially the teachers. You know, shout out to all of y'all who go through it, especially the parents who are available as well. Shout out to y'all too, because the teacher, the parent, and the student make the great triangular relationship. We
Facts.
all got to do it together. You know what I mean?
Facts.
So,
Facts.
all right. So, topic 2, done. Donezo, right? So, let's get on to number 3. These topics are going to be a little bit quicker, you know, because the first 2 were very open ended and heavier topics, for sure. This one, let's talk about as you get older. What are a few things that you prioritize the most as you're getting older? I guess I'll start with
Yeah,
this one.
start it off.
Yeah,
Hit it off.
I'll start with this one. I think it's pretty simple. I think the more that I deep life AB, I feel like family is most important to me. Um, I feel like when you get older, you
Excuse me.
realize kind of how naked and alone you are in the world. Like you don't have as many true friends. Sometimes, you know, your parents leave and exit the earth. You may not have a great relationship with your brother or sister. You could be going through things with your spouse. And so we have to prioritize family because end of the day, AB, if I make $1 million or my net worth is $3-4 million, but I'm a terrible parent, I'm a terrible man. I'm not a good man. And people forget that sometimes. I can have all the money in the bank, but a lot of people are going to judge mostly on how's your family,
Mm.
the people that you have to protect and secure and nurture and provide resource for. Are you doing that first? Forget all that $1 million. That's what people are going to look at. And if you're any person, you're going to look at yourself as that as well. Like, man, that ain't mean anything because my son won't talk to me. My daughter thinks I'm a monster because I was never home. I shunned her all these years. And there's a video, a music video by Stevie Wonder, These Three Words. And in that video, the daughter came in, was so excited to show him something and what she drew. And he was just so busy working that he told her to leave. And you can see the sadness in that daughter's face and her heart that her father didn't want anything to do with her, even though she spent all that time in doing it for him. It was a picture for him, about being the best dad, you know? And so these are the things that we don't think about sometimes because we're working too much, we're too busy, we can't prioritize. And then months and years go past, and those same people remember these things where you put other people first or other things first and not them. So I think number 1 is family. I will prioritize that a lot more. And there's no such thing as balance, but I will do my best to balance all the things I got going on and making sure that they're taken care of first, you know, inshallah. Right? That's the first thing. The second thing, prioritize peace. I want peace more than anything. And I'm getting older now. I'm 40 years old. Alhamdulillah. And one thing, when I talk about peace, that could just be like on a regular Friday, like not going anywhere. Just want to stay on the couch, relax, you know, get ready for Juma, you know, read the Quran a little bit, go for Juma, come back, you know, maybe order something or go somewhere. Just be able to dictate what peace looks like in my life, right? Now, when you have kids, kids are going to also infiltrate that peace a lot and
Of
things
course.
like that. But when it comes to the selection of my spouse and, me and her, I want to make sure that she's a peaceful woman herself naturally before I even come in. I don't want to coach peace with her. I want her to be at peace. So when we both get together, we are peaceful beings together. And so that's what I prioritize, peace, because of all the things, all the chaos and all the drama going around the world. When I get home, this should be my sanctuary. This shouldn't be any place where people interrupt my peace. If it is, I love my kids. If it is, I love my wife, even if they interrupt my peace, That's what it's about. And I want to be able to give peace to them and emanate peace in my home as well. So that's number 2. I got a list over here too. One more. I'll give you one more. Oh, yeah, just Dean and religion. I think our guest, Journey Home Podcast, shout out to Amen B. He actually said it. It's not about how much Quran or can you spout all the different stories of the prophets, and all these things. Just get better each day. What is your goal? Focus on that goal and just get a little bit better than yesterday. Once you do those things, you fall in love with the process. You don't even know that you're involved in the process. And over time, you're just a better person for it. And I think sometimes we put too much pressure on being the next ulama and, being the next imam. And you don't have to do that. Just take it day by day, and then everything else will come as well. Just don't beat yourself up too much, right? So I think, inshallah. So those are the just a couple of things that I'm prioritizing right now. And hopefully everything will be okay, inshallah. So what about you, AB? What about, yeah.
Bro, this question to me is a very interesting topic because I'm at a crossroad in my life right now, right?
Talk to me.
And the things that I used to prioritize or the things that used to excite me don't longer excite me. So I'm kind of like a butterfly right now, or like a snake shedding my skin, and I'm going through metamorphosis. So to me, my entire world now has flipped upside down. Okay. So number 1 would be the religion. Okay, so I prioritize the religion a lot more than I used to. So a lot more, and I've learned to be more have build my foundation, or go back to basics. I've come to realize that I need that. Luckily, I've built a foundation that I never knew I had, and I've gone back to basics.
Alhamdulillah.
So that's the first thing. So the love that I have is going towards the deen first. That's number 1. True maturation is that as you get older, that the deen's all you need. So that's number 1. Number 2 is putting myself forward. So because we had this talk before, where before you can help anybody, you need to first get yourself right. Okay, and you and I always use the analogy of the cup. So
Indeed.
how can I fill your cup if my cup's empty? So it's a very simple analogy, but it's a very deep analogy. And people, there's always going to be people having their hand out, but who's going to fill your cup? Especially as men, we are very prideful. We have egos. We're trying to make it out ourselves, make it out of our own. So it's a very tough pill to swallow, that sometimes it's okay to ask for help. So number 2 would be myself. Okay. Number 3 is what you spoke about, is about true companionship, camaraderie. And camaraderie is something that has to be cultivated. You have to go through trials with that person to understand that you need to live with them, to do business with them, to understand them in their worst days. And this also applies for your wife. This also applies for your friend circle. This applies for the true meaning of a relationship, whether it's a friendship, it's a kinship. It applies to different versions of the word ship, and it's a very hard thing to do, because now when you go through these trials and tribulations, now you know that this person, whoever they are, is worth your time, because time is of the essence, and when time's of the essence, you know how valuable time is, and who actually is willing, who actually are you willing to give your time to, because they're willing to give their time back for you, or to you, sorry, to you. So that's a very important thing. Camaraderie, companionship is very, very important. And the last thing is what you said. It's peace. Okay, peace. As men, we seek out peace. Otherwise, we have to create peace. And 9 out of 10 times you have to create it yourself. There's not many places that have peace. And this world's full of chaos. It's full of disorder. So you have to create spaces where you are either you play sports with like-minded individuals, or you create a podcast, or you have a book club or something of your likings, and you attract people that are similar to you, that align with your goals, your hobbies, whatever it is, and that is peace. Where whether, or like, there's a lot of guys can relate to this, where they go home, they're driving home, okay, and they have a wife, they have a kids, whatever, and they'll spend 1 hour just alone in their car before they go home, before they go inside. That 1 hour, that 1 hour is their peace. Before, they just battled. They went to the outside world. They had work. They just battled. They closed the sale, because as men, we have to find ways to make money. That's our battle. Okay, whether you're a teacher, you're in marketing, you're a doctor, you're an engineer, you are going into the world trying to make money. Okay, you're navigating through all these issues and problems and blah blah. Your boss says you have to do this. You have to have a deadline. You need to do this. A patient needs this, or a client needs this. So you are navigating through all the BS and the problems of the world. Now you have a family waiting for you. That's gonna take energy out of you. So they go home, and right before they go home, they stay an hour to an hour and a half in their car, just so that they can get their mind right, or they're tired. They're, as teachers, for example, I always tell you this, right? I tell you this. I say, after teaching for 8 hours, I hate hearing my own voice. I hate it. So when I get home, I love silence. Silence is golden to me. I just taught for 8 hours. I've been teaching lessons. I've been dealing with admin. I've been dealing with kids. I've been hearing the sound of my voice. It's tiring. It's very, very tiring. So on the drive home, I'd either put on a podcast, or I put on some Quran, and and I don't want to hear myself talk. And it's a drive home, and then I park the car, and I chill in the car for a good hour, hour and a half, and then I enter my house, because now I have decompressed. And when you decompress, when you find things that can decompress you, that is true peace, right there. That is the meaning of true peace. And those
Yes,
are those
sir.
are those are my four things. Those are to me,
Yes,
and
sir.
and numbers 2, 3, and 4, they all stem from religion. To me, they all go back to religion. If
Hmm.
my relationship with my Creator is solid, then I'm good. I don't need anything else, because He gives me peace. He'll
Facts.
send me people that will give me companionship and camaraderie. He will make me focus on myself and my goals. So that's why my foundation has to be A1. It has to be solid. It has to be. That's it.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's real. You made me think about a couple of things. You said something like "time is of the essence." Isn't that like a song? It's like "time is of the essence." I don't know. It was like a song. I heard
Probably.
someone say that,
Probably.
and it's true though. Time is of the essence, but we don't realize that till we get older.
Mhm.
That time is not on our side, right? That's the first thing. Second thing, you made me think about my brother. One of the things that it made me look at marriage in a good light, and especially the part about companionship that you talked about, camaraderie, is when my brother would get home and I was there visiting. I would see his kids, my niece and nephew. When they heard the key jingle and the key go into the slot, that he was coming in, they rushed to the door.
Mm.
And I just said, man, I want that feeling, man, when I come home and my kids are just ready, Daddy, and that'll make you feel like all the pressures of the day and things like that just went away, at least for that temporary moment. But I thought that was a really cute moment every time I used to see them do that. And the third thing was, I remember my stepfather's advice, because my stepfather is very intelligent. Shout out to my stepfather. I love you, man. Very intelligent guy. And he used to say, son, don't tell your wife what time you get off of work. And I said, Pops, why is that, man? He said, listen, you get off at 5, you tell your wife you get off at 6. Always build a time in for you. Right? You want to be able to take the train, get your mind collected. You want to be able to get, a bite to eat after work. You want to be able to stay late if you need to, but at least you built in a buffer of an hour. You can spend it however you want to spend it before you get back in the house. Because when you get in the house, you're 100% a father, you're 100% a husband. And you got to be ready for that when you get home. So if you get off at 5, you go home at 6. If you get off at 4, you tell your wife get off at 5. And not saying that he said take it literally, but he said if that's what you need, that's what you need to do. You know what I mean? So just interesting things that as you were speaking, it made me think about some things in my life and what I have seen, that especially when it comes to companionship and camaraderie, right?
Facts.
So yeah. If you hear a banging, I don't know what that is. Feel like my next door neighbor or something. If you hear
It's all
something
good, man.
like
It's
that,
all good,
so
bro. It's all good.
all right, we're gonna progress to the last topic, and this is the topic, obviously native to myself and AB as expats, right? Where the West meets the East via podcast, you dig? So this is about being an expat in Qatar. If you're someone sitting in Canada, sitting in the US, sitting somewhere abroad, why would you consider Qatar? And if you are considering Qatar, what are some of the resources or things you need to do to prepare for this journey over here? So, AB, I want you to go first, talking about like some of the resources that people can tap into to prepare themselves, and then why Qatar in general is a great place for an expat.
Uh, this is it's a very broad question, but well, first, okay, we'll go big and then we'll narrow it down. Why Qatar is a great country or a nation to work abroad. Number one, the safety and security of the country. Okay, very safe, very clean, um, and people for the most part are exceptionally nice. Excuse me, nice people, easy to get along with, and you have to come with an open mind. Okay, it's not like Canada, it's not like America. Obviously every culture, every country is different. They have rules and regulations and laws that you have to follow. uh, I can't do certain things as a Canadian in Canada, which makes sense to me, so you can't come. You have to check your privilege in your country, and you have to understand that there's rules and regulations when you go to any country, and Qatar is the same as well. And Qatar follows the rules of Islam. So you will have to dress a certain way. You will have to what's it called, mind your language and understand and be privy to the way and the culture of people are. That's the first thing. When you have to do your research, what kind of job sector you're going to, whether it's teaching, engineering, doctor. The first you have to do is join forums, go on LinkedIn, talk to people, and find out the climate of whatever job you're hiring. Okay, obviously in teaching, there's a lot of job boards for education, and you can just kind of get a feel of what is they're looking for. Teaching is one of those things where it's like a revolving revolving door. There's people always going to be leaving. There's people always going to be coming in, and it's always going to be there. You always need teachers. You always need. It's a requirement for every nation. Every nation needs teachers. But you have to understand, what are you teaching? What are you qualified? What are you all these things? So a good way is to go on the job boards to see, talk to people. Go on Facebook, join groups, ask them, hey, what kind of What kind of subjects do you teach? What is the parents like? What are the students like? What is the salary? Because everyone's obviously in it for the money, of course. No one's gonna say, "I'm here for a good cause." No, they're not. Okay, everyone's in it for the money. Okay, so what is the salary? And that is based on a grid, like a scale. So what is based on your experiences? So that also applies the same thing for also healthcare as well. There's also a grid. Okay, and based on your experiences, based on your degree, what do you bring to the table? So, and then also, if you're someone who is like adventurous, or someone who, obviously, I always tell people, make sure you have a life outside of work. Okay, very important. Make sure you have a life outside of work. So when you join these groups and you ask these questions, ask them, hey, how is other things to do? What are the other hobbies? How's the parks? What is the food like? What is the climate like? What is the weather like? What is this? Make sure you ask, because it's not similar to how we have it back home. And then make sure you join and you find these pocket communities where you can join. Find the Canadians, find the Americans, find this people, find this people. Go join a basketball group. Go join football group. Go find the hobbies and create. And for me personally, I personally don't hang out with a lot of teachers. And the reason why I don't hang out with a lot of teachers is because there's too much common ground between us. Not because I don't like teachers, but I don't. What are we? There isn't that much things that we can discuss, like that's outside, So I try to be in different circles where I can get a different image of Qatar, or of whatever it is. Oh, you do what's it called, diving? Cool. Like, how's diving? How's this? Oh, you do fishing? Cool. Like, how's, And when you run with different circles, you see Qatar in different lights. You know what I'm saying? And if you only hang out with the same people you work with, you won't last long. I promise you, no, you won't last long. Okay, you will not last long. Okay, so you need to have different circles that you run with, and you will enjoy it, and you will last longer, and you will see the beauty of Qatar. Make sure you enjoy it for what it is. The food is great, the culture is beautiful, the religion is even more beautiful, and the hospitality. They're known for being very hospitable people. They're known for being very giving, and it's an all around great place, because if you come with an open mind to learn, to accept, and also don't forget, every country has their own problems. By the way, every country has problems. Canada has problems. America has problems. Every country has problems. It is what it is. Qatar isn't any different, by the way. However, if you come with the open mind and open heart to accept things for what it is and how they move, and how they do things, then I promise you, this place will be. You will stay in this place for a very long time. And if I can do it again, I'll do it again. So to me, it checks off many boxes. I love it. But make sure you do your research. Make sure you do your research. Make sure you join these forums. Make sure you make these connections, because at that point you will enjoy it for the beauty of what it has to offer. And trust me, it offers a lot of things. I promise you.
Absolutely. That's well said. There's a lot to say. We could have went on a lot longer than that.
Yeah.
I'm
Trust
sure
me, I know.
AB has a lot to say,
Yeah.
but he condensed it as best as he could. I appreciate that, my brother. Hopefully, maybe I'll cover some of the things you would have said as well. But I think just to piggyback off of what AB said, the first thing is, if you're interested in Qatar, you want to look at the website I Love Qatar.
Mm.
.net. I think it's iloveqatar.net. If you just type it into your Google search, you'll see I Love Qatar. It's the most comprehensive website about Qatar in terms of what's going on here, in terms of the events, in terms of the news, updates, in terms of everything that you want. This is a very, very good comprehensive website for you to check out. They're obviously on all the platforms as well. YouTube and Instagram, I follow them exclusively on there, as well as Facebook too. So this is the first one, I Love Qatar. Check that out in your Google search. Number 2, you need to speak to people.
Mm.
If we're here, like myself and AB, speak to us. Speak to other Qatari expats. that are here. See what they're saying about their respective, career, their respective field, where they live and what compound, the lifestyle, the food, the schools, all these different things. They can talk to you firsthand about their experience. And if you don't know anyone, Facebook groups, they have tons of Facebook groups that are popping in terms of the conversations that people are having about all types of subjects. And so I think any type of Facebook group, if you can get access to those, they really have a lot of information in those groups as well, especially about schools and other things going on. Networking is important as well. If you see a particular job, if you're an engineer, you need to go on LinkedIn and network with people who are engineers or recruiters, right? Who have jobs and who are looking for expats. You need to link in, right? Literally like the title of the platform. You need to link in with them and really see what's going on and have a recruiter do the legwork for you. And if you need a resume done, holla at me. I'm a certified professional resume writer, so you need to just get the whole package created just so that you're ready for the recruiters and can go through that process, once your name is called to do an interview. All right. So that's important as well. And just do your research, good old fashioned research. Compare everything. What type of salary amount do you want? What's the market over there in terms of the packages that they're offering? Just do your research. It fits what's best for your family. Because once you make that move, the salary that you're getting offered has to fit for your entire family, and the compensation and the benefits and things of that nature. So it got to make sense for everyone. Can't just make sense for yourself. All right. So that's the thing. In terms of why I would move to Qatar, there's a ton of reasons why I would move to Qatar. Subhanallah, it's a lot, but I'll give you a few. I'm looking at some of my notes here. I'll give you a few. Number one, like AB said, it's safe, it's secure, and it gives you a peace of mind that you haven't had in the West. And so that's the number one thing that ranks very high, apart from it being a Muslim country. The safety, security and peace of mind is unparalleled. I can go outside at 12 at night and walk around and get 10,000 steps. Nobody's bothering me. I can go into neighborhoods with big houses, nice communities, gated communities. No one's going to do anything to me. No one's threatened by me. It just feels different. That's all I would say. And I'll keep it at that. Number two, AB said it as well. Nice people, hospitable culture here. Definitely have that going on here as well. Number three, for me, it could be hot for some people. People can need more rain, but I love the predictable weather. Every day I go outside, I don't have to go look at the weather report or the weather channel or my weather app. I know what the weather is pretty much going to be, and I can adjust for it at any time. It shocks me when it does rain, and it's not really like a lot of calamities in terms of weather. But again, I know what I know, and I know how to dress appropriately. I know when the seasons are coming and when it's going, what the weather pattern is going to be like, and I love that. My wife's from London, for example, and it rains over there randomly, indiscriminately sometimes. Just a culture of weather over there is rain. It's going to happen at some point during the day, during the week. For me, I don't like that. I like more sunnier weather. So it just depends on your preferences. All right. Number four, it's a no-brainer if you're Muslim. I don't think I need to elaborate more on that. It's a no-brainer if you're Muslim. You just have to come over here. It makes sense. And then number five, I think it's number five. Yeah, number five, the lifestyle. Me in particular, I like the lifestyle because some countries are a little more to the right in terms of the Gulf. Some countries are a little bit more to the left when it comes to the Gulf. Qatar is right in the middle to me. They're not going too extreme with liberalism. They're not going too to the right with really holding things down conservatively. They have pockets of those things, but it also allows for all people to have a certain lane in this country within reasonable limits, obviously, right? But as a Muslim, I don't feel threatened by any of those limits or any of those other lanes that are happening as well. I feel totally fine. I feel like the country's in a really strong place when it comes to just offering something for everyone. And as I said before, my last point is a no-brainer if you're Muslim to come here, right? So you're going to feel very happy if you're a Muslim here and exactly how everything is going. It's not going to be a shock to you. And if you're coming from the West like I was, it's actually it exceeded my expectations way more than I could imagine before I moved. And so I don't want to go too deep into that. I think the last thing, sorry, AB, I think the last thing I want to go into just to the job part. So Facebook groups, finding recruiters, getting into job fairs, right? Being active in those job fairs, and then just sending emails and job inquiry emails to the HR departments or to people that you may network with at schools. Some schools give bonuses. Like say a school that's looking for a teacher, they may give you a bonus for that, right? They may not, but it may be they're looking for something and you have a unique skill set, and so you always want to be able to network because you may not know everything that's posted, but someone else working there does. They know the scoop or they know what's going to happen. And so you always constantly have to be sending emails and networking and checking in with people authentically, right? Not hounding them, right? And being a nuisance, but authentically just keeping it fresh with those connections. So that's about it on my side. AB, did I cover everything or
You
you
covered
missed
everything.
out? You missed something?
You covered everything and some.
Okay, cool. That's a given, man. I think between me and you, we would cover a lot more, and we probably still, if we wanted to, uncover some more things as well.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
So we're at the end of the show.
We
Thank
made
you
it.
for everyone for taking this time with us, especially if you made it to the end of this part of the video. Thank you so much. I want to say a couple of things. It's almost time for us to prayer, so we're actually on good timing as well.
Alhamdulillah.
Like AB always says, with a like, comment, subscribe, and share this. We don't ask for tuition. We're not begging for cash apps, not like that. Just share. That's part of the experience. Just share it to others if you think this was valuable to you as well. And also, for me, I like to listen to YouTube videos. I like to listen to them. I have YouTube Premium. So I just put it in the background, do some other stuff on my phone. I'm listening to it. So you don't got to look at us for a whole hour and 20 minutes of a podcast. Just listen to us. Let it rock in the back. You do your thing. Clean the house, do your homework, like work on a project. You know what I'm saying? Any of those things. That's what you can do, right? While you're checking us out. Also, you can watch it. And then we're soon going to be on podcasts, the Google and Apple. We're working on that. Within a couple more episodes, you're going to see us on all those platforms as well. So if you're an audio person, you can be able to check us out on there as well. So there's a lot of cool things coming. And inshallah, you just want to tune in. Please tune in with us. It's a lot going on. AB, any final words that you want to say to the crowd today?
No, man, this was a good episode. Always our first two questions are the heaviest, and then we end off with some light banter. But as always, man, we appreciate the love, we appreciate the support. This is episode 5 and many more to come. So make sure you like, subscribe, engage, and always make dua for us.
Always. Inshallah. Signing off, everybody. In YouTube form. Peace.